Welcome to Software Minimalist channel. My name is Piotr and I will be your guide to software minimalism. Today I will talk about how minimalism applies in your personal life and then how it can apply to your practice of software engineering. I will also introduce the Pareto Principle, the empiricism minimalism graph, and the principles of software design. Do you know what minimalism is? Maybe you heard about Marie Kondo. She's a coach who helps people get rid of unnecessary clutter and keep only the things that spark joy. She is a minimalist, a member of a growing movement which recognizes true joy, value, and purpose do not come from the number of things you have, but the quality of experiences and the feelings they generate. Having too many things is recognized as a barrier towards achieving your goals, leading a happy and healthy life, growing relationships. Minimalism is a philosophical movement and a lifestyle which is focused on getting rid of things, experiences, activities which are a waste. They can be a waste of time, a waste of money, a waste of space. Either way, if something doesn't add value to your life, minimalism teaches you should get rid of it. Obviously, everyone will have their own different and personal value equation. Something valuable for one person might not be valuable for another. But here is the great part. Nobody is asking you to use another person's value equation. You should use your own, the value equation you already have and which you already use. How do I know you already have this value equation built in? Ask yourself, how often do you feel guilty about wasting time on some activity? How about feeling guilty about buying something you don't really need? Why do you feel guilty? You are not following your own value judgment. The value of this new item in your life is lower than its aggregated cost. The idea is you should take that inner voice and amplify it. Go through the active step of decluttering your surroundings and you will instantly recognize it as an antidote to the prevailing culture of consuming more and more without end. Ask yourself, what do you value? What is your goal? And organize your life around it. Here's an important thing to remember. You should not use the newfound freedom and the extra space, the extra time you get, and fill it again with new stuff. The instinct and practice used once should be kept turned on continuously. Use it as means to continuously prioritize what is important and to say no to things which are not important. After you clean things up, the word no is probably the most important to remember when faced with a temptation to impulse buy or impulse act. Stop, take a step back and reevaluate. Does this bring value in your life? The exact same heuristic of minimalist lifestyle can and should be applied in the context of software engineering. It results in good, purposeful design of software and can even be applied to the way we manage projects and the whole organizations. Incidentally, maybe you noticed before, the word no is one of the most important tools in the arsenal of product owners when evaluating if a user story should go into a backlog and how it should be prioritized. The Pareto Principle states that for many outcomes, roughly 80% of the consequences come from 20% of the causes, the vital few. The other names for this principle are the 80-20 rule, the law of the vital few, or the principle of factor sparsity. Think about software minimalism through the lens of the Pareto Principle. To give you a quick idea of what it is, let me share an example. Given 6 features of a software product, the customers will typically use 20% of the features almost all the time, 80% of the time, and the remaining features will be used rarely, if at all. Which features should you invest in? The same principle can be applied to the projects and their value to an organization, where 20% of all projects will bring almost all the value, measured simply as profit, and the rest will either bring little or even lose money. Where would you focus your investment? Which project would you cancel? Another example can be a software architecture itself, where 80% of optimization will come from fixing 20% of the problems. Which classes would you refactor or remove from your design? Where would you focus your optimization efforts? Will I need this? How much time and effort does it take from me to support it? How is this effort comparable to the value I get from the thing? The moment you realize the 80-20 rule is universally applicable, and the moment you figure out the relative value of the things you care about, you will notice the same distribution. It doesn't matter if we are talking about the structure of the organization, the structure of teams, the value of projects, the complexity of architectures, the details of software, even management using tools like Jira. Just think about how many features of Jira you actually use and which ones are never touched. When you create your Pareto chart and you see the vital few and the long tail of the trivial many, you might have this uncomfortable realization about the cost of maintaining this long tail. Nothing we do ever comes for free. If you continuously buy new things, you will quickly run out of either space or money or time for the effort of maintaining the mountain of stuff you have. The only way to make sure you do not fall into a trap is to continuously keep in mind the lessons of minimalism and continuously evaluate where a new item falls on your Pareto value chart. If you only keep adding without ever considering the growing complexity, growing maintenance cost, the things which are already outdated, you will quickly realize your organization is strangled by this artificial complexity. This is an empiricism minimalism graph. You can also think of it as a simplicity and testability graph. It demonstrates the synergy of simplicity and empirical testing and can be used to evaluate your ways of working. On the empiricism minimalism graph, you want to be on the top right, where dependencies are few and well managed, where software is not overcomplicated and design is simple enough to accommodate changes to requirements, where the processes in the organization adapt to or enable the delivery of valuable software. But here's the problem. Entropy is always pushing us to the bottom left, towards the red chaos zone. And entropy is always working against us. We continuously have to account for it in our planning, prioritizing, our decision making. We need to continuously choose not to do the things which would push us towards chaos. I will cover the topic of empiricism and explain the EM graph fully in another video. For those who enjoy puzzles, I have a little challenge. Try to describe in the comments how the process of scientific method could be represented on this graph. Optimizing the ways of working and removing unnecessary work out of the system is more important than doing the work itself. Have you ever seen a carpenter with dull tools? Sharpening your tools minimizes the effort. It's no accident one of the more successful software engineering books, The Pragmatic Programmer, chose for its cover the theme of woodworking and sharpening your toolset. It is no accident that the 10th principle of the Agile Manifesto says simplicity, or the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. Practices and methodologies like lean manufacturing, theory of constraints, extreme programming, which I will discuss in future videos, all focus on removing waste. They are all grounded in minimalism. They try to push us to the top right of the empiricism minimalism graph, directly fighting against entropy. Minimalism in software engineering is a great rule of thumb. When you pair it together with some fundamental practices of extreme programming, for example, simple design, acceptance testing, test-driven development, you get the well-known principles of DRY, or don't repeat yourself, YAGNI, or you ain't gonna need it, and KISS, or keep it simple, stupid. Out of these popular principles, YAGNI is probably the most directly connected to the idea of removing and limiting artificial complexity. You ain't gonna need it is a phrase we all should remember when impulse shopping or when designing software. It's also a rule we should use as an active filter when cleaning up a design which is already messy, an organization with too many dependencies, or a team with too many stories in the backlog. A valuable observation is that minimalism can and should apply to every avenue of software engineering. Number of features, design of said features, documentation, collaboration, communication, and so on. One point of criticism I heard about these ideas was someone pointing out the price you have to pay to first learn what is actually important for the project or the customer, because they didn't have a well-developed understanding of the goal. Another criticism was that after you know what your goal is, it then takes time to apply the evaluation to each work item, to clean things up. The second point can be answered by simply asking if you already prioritize. If you don't, you might be wasting time doing the wrong things, and there is nothing more wasteful than going as fast as you can in the wrong direction. The time it takes to clean things up will speed you up in any future work. You need to sharpen your tools. The first point is perfectly answered by a popular quote: if you think learning is expensive, try the cost of ignorance. If you think learning what is actually valuable for your customer is more expensive than not understanding what is valuable, well, there's little I can say that will be convincing. What if someone says that everything is important? Well, if everything is important, nothing is. Leadership is choosing the 20% out of 100 and sticking with it until you have proof it either works or it doesn't work. It is not trying everything at the same time, hoping something will stick. That's not leadership. It's waste, it's randomness, and it's noise. How to choose? Remember the value equation and understand what is the goal. Once you figure that out, use the Pareto Principle to put things in order and align them to that goal. And never be afraid to get rid of the things which are not valuable. When in doubt, it is always a good first step to think about minimalism, simplification, removing artificial complexity. Frequently, through this exercise alone, you might get a better understanding of where you stand, what should be kept, and where you need to go. And remember, the same ideas used to clean your room, you can use to clean your design. In the age of information, in the age of AI-generated content, bloated organizations, exponentially growing cost of maintaining our digital world, where it is easier than ever before to drown in noise, it is not what you do which is the most important. What is most important is what you choose not to do. Thank you all for joining me today. Please like, subscribe, and share. Provide super thanks or Patreon support if you can, and have a beautiful day. Until next time, your software minimalist.